Hello, welcome back to the game room. Let's get into some fanboy fun. So today we are going to be talking about the PsychoPad. Oh, I'm sorry, no, we're not talking about the PsychoPad. We're talking about the PsychoPad Hyper Programmable 10-in-1 Arcade Stick. Ah! Look at this box. Look at this box artwork. I walked into a play and trade years ago, looked over, saw this for $10, and I threw my wallet at the guy so hard I knocked his ass out. This is an arcade stick that is usable on the PlayStation, the Sega Saturn, and the Super Nintendo. But in all seriousness, let's talk about the PsychoPad Knockout Arcade Joystick. Now, I know this is a lot to take in, but bear with me. In general, it is an arcade joystick. You've got the joystick, you got your start and select, you've got your 8 action buttons, which is also interesting because in Super Nintendo mode, these two basically act as bonus buttons, but we'll get to that. So if you're not using this as an arcade joystick, you can use this as a programmable joystick. To discuss how cool this is, I figured I would just jump right into showing you guys how to program it in real time. So let's get to that first. All right, guys. Here we have the PsychoPad. As you can tell from my hands now being in frame, it is a very large, very durable joystick. Heavy, good weight to it. Buttons are nice and clicky. When the controller is in its quote-unquote normal mode, it is your standard joystick. Joystick, all 8 action buttons, start and select. Auto fire, for those who would like it. Good to go. The important thing that we're going to discuss in this video is its programmable features, which makes it just absolutely amazing to use. Now, I've got Street Fighter running because this is the easiest game. This is the game that's the easiest to show off its capabilities. So, let's begin. With the programming options of the joystick, there's 1-in-1, 5-in-1, and 10-in-1 macros you can program. The 4 thumb buttons are 1-in-1s, so meaning you could program like just maybe both buttons for a Tekken throw or a toward and a punch for a Street Fighter throw. The shoulder buttons are what are used for 5-in-1, so you can do 5 separate commands in one macro to be programmed. These 4 up here are 10-in-1s, but we're going to get to those in a second because those are super important. So, you basically have 1-in-1s, 5-in-1s, and 10-in-1s. So to start, to show off its capabilities, we're going to work with Ken, and we're going to program his fireball. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Setup, and then to make sure I haven't left any of my test programs in, we're going to hold both start and select for 2 seconds. And now that the LCD is bleeped twice, we're good to go. So we're now going to program. So we're going to press start to program. Now you have to choose which button you want to program. So since this is light, medium punch, and light, medium kick, I'm going to use the shoulder buttons to do my programming. So we're going to press that. And now we're going to make this Ken's fireball. So we're going to do down and then continuous motion. Let go, and press select. Now, the continuous motion button is for games like Street Fighter where you have to do down, down towards, and towards. If it were, say, Mortal Kombat, where you would just do back, back, and towards, instead of hitting the continuous motion, you would actually just hold the joystick and press select to program it. But I'll show you that with Guile. Now that we've got down command, we're going to do diagonally, press select to record it, and let go. Toward, select to record it, let go. And then we're going to make this a light fireball. So we're going to hold light punch, program, and let go. So now what we've done is we've programmed quarter circle plus light punch to this button. So we'll turn off the setup, and if I did this correctly, he should throw a fireball. Now I'm just setting you up. The other cool feature of this joystick, as you can see, he's not doing it. He's doing the motions I pressed, but not fast enough to do a fireball. That's where this guy comes in. This speed option isn't setting the speed of the auto fires, it's setting the speed at which the joystick performs the macro. So if we move up a tier and try again, not quite yet. Try phase 3. Almost. And phase 4. Perfect. So at the highest level speed setting for our macro and my 5-in-1 macro programmed, I now have a 1-button fireball punch. Now, another funny feature with this joystick, and I really shouldn't say funny, but to show how like forward thinking they were with the joystick. So I program my fireball, but the problem is I'm on player one side. If I come over here and throw Zangief to the other side, when I go to press my programmed fire button or fireball, he's going to do the roll. That's not what I want. So you press the flip button, and the joystick will automatically now flip all of your macros. So you've got your fireball again. Pretty cool. So now that we've got that figured out, let's do a super. So now we're going to use the 10 and 1s up here. So now we're going to go into setup, start, and I have to choose one of these guys since the super is more than 5 button presses. So we'll make this bottom one the thing. So we're good to go. So now we're going to program down, continuous motion, diagonally down towards, down, continuous motion, down. And I think I missed one. I might have missed one. Let's see what happens. Nope, we're good. Yay! So yeah. Now, on one macro, I've got 3 moves. You can essentially fill up all the macros you want, which is awesome. So, just to show off again, we got the fireball, we got a hurricane kick, and we've got my super. So, let's show how the charge method works. So first we're going to switch the macro over. That's the other cool thing. Each macro actually counts as multiple things. So now I can have Ken as my first macro, and we'll make Guile my second macro. And what's even cooler is the joystick will remember your things even with the system turned off. So if you come back the next day, all your macros are still programmed as they were. So let's get out of here real quick. Go. All right, so now we've got a charge character. So remember how I told you about the continuous motion button? We are going to now show you how to do charges. So we're going to hit setup. We're going to program, and we're going to program this guy for his fireball. So now in the program, we're going to hit left, and we need to charge for 2 seconds. So we'll press the 2-second button. Let go, select, and then it's going to be toward, select, let go, and then we'll put on low punch. So low punch, select, and now we should have a fireball. See? Super easy. And then see, isn't that cool? Like, it does take a bit to figure out the ins and outs of the game you're trying to program for, but there's so many cool things you can do with it that's not just limited to fighting games. Now, fighting games in general, you could do a ton of crazy things, like how I showed with Akuma's Demon Rage, or even like do the 10-hit combos in Tekken. As long as what you're trying to do fits within, at most, the 10 button presses, you can do a bunch of crazy things. One of the things I didn't want to leave on the cutting room floor was this really cool figure out for Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo, where in a single button press, I had the game use a single potion on each of my 3 party members so I could take a sip of coffee while everyone was healing themselves. So there's a lot of cool things you can do. Now, as a joystick in general, in just general usage, it is very competent. I played Ninja Turtles in time on the Super Nintendo. I played a little bit of Final Fantasy. I played Street Fighter Alpha 2. I did a little bit of Mortal Kombat. The joystick works. Like, it works fine. But some people might have an issue with how much throw is in the stick. Like, it doesn't look like a lot, but when you're going from like a half circle move, it can feel kind of far. But you do get used to it, etc. The turbo switches are really nice. What is also cool is I did make a little mistake in the video, which I blurted out. Basically, this speed macro that helps you with the Street Fighter motions, this also does affect the turbo switches. So you can actually have multiple turbo settings on the different buttons. So, with all these cool things going on with the controller, what about the caveats I talked about? Here's the deal. As cool as this controller is, it has some really, really big issues with it. First and foremost is the arcade stick itself, the joystick. The knob or ball on top of the arcade stick was basically made of like the same material you'd use from like a bouncy ball, like if a rubber bouncy ball. And 20 years on, the plastic has just essentially eroded away. Like on my one joystick, it's basically, it feels like you're holding a really soft piece of sandpaper. On the second joystick, because I have two of them, it it's almost sticky. Like the first time I pulled this out of the box a couple months ago, I had to basically wipe my hand down because the plastic had just essentially melted. Two, the other problem comes in with the controller's multi-system function. So to offer this, the cords are separate. So you have a Super Nintendo controller plug, you have a PlayStation plug, and a Sega Saturn plug. On the controller I bought from Play and Trade for the $10, it turns out that the Super Nintendo cord did not work. It was completely useless. So when I bought the follow-up one off of eBay, that one came in, the PlayStation cord didn't work. Now, that aside, in my early retraining myself with the controller before doing this video, I had it hooked up to my PlayStation and then completely cleaned my room. The problem is that I don't know what I did with my original PlayStation cord. So right now, even though I have two joysticks, one's cord doesn't work and one's cord is MIA. So as a PlayStation controller right now, this is literally useless. So from that angle, it has a huge buyer beware situation. The other issue comes up with the fact that the controller can actually store your macros, because that means there's either a lithium battery in here or some really kick-ass batteries. And seeing as how there's no compartment door on the bottom, is probably a backup battery, so that could possibly leak or rust, etc. I did not open this, unlike the Polymega controller, because I am terrified of how this might look underneath with all the controllers and switches. So, yeah, you have the chance of your cords not working, and if you lose the cord, your SOL, plus the actual plastic on the joystick ball itself is going to be really, really icky. I tried to see if I could turn it, like, take it off and replace it like you would like a normal arcade joystick, but it looks like it's actually, like, it looks like the ball and the stick are one piece, because there's a sort of protective column around the arcade stick. So yeah, if you happen to buy this and all three cords work and the ball isn't melted, it's fantastic. But if you do buy it and it's got these issues, yeah. Besides the horrible box artwork, Act Labs did well enough on the first run that they actually reprinted the joystick, I guess remanufactured, improving the box art. But what's crazy is that this isn't the only joystick Act Labs made. The PsychoPad actually has a cousin called the Arcade Rex. It looks almost exactly like it, except it only works, I believe, for the PlayStation, and it doesn't have any of the programming functions. It's literally just the joystick itself. So if you're in the hunt for a PsychoPad joystick, make sure it does not say Arcade Rex in the corner. Now, the other crazy thing is, I was trying to do research for this episode. I did not know this. The PsychoPad had a son, an actual handheld controller called the PsychoPad Junior, and then an actual sequel controller called the PsychoPad 3. I have only seen one image of PsychoPad 3, and I have only seen a couple images of the PsychoPad Junior. I searched through 55 pages of eBay auctions looking for a PsychoPad Junior to have one for this issue, for this episode, and I couldn't find one. The only proof that the PsychoPad exists is that I found Act Lab's old website through archive.org and actually downloaded their marketing specs. So yeah, if you're looking to pick up the Volume 3 or the Junior, good luck. I don't know if it's just rare or that, like, they didn't sell that many. The website actually literally says sold out on it from the archive.org. So they clearly had some sort of inventory to go with. But yeah, this, like I said, this is the greatest, worst joystick you will ever use. And to this day, I'm so glad I bought that $10 one. it just sucks with the cords because if I can't find the PlayStation cord, I don't have a PlayStation controller. And if I do find it, if I mix and match the cords, I'll have one fully functioning arcade stick, and on the other one, I'll basically just have a Saturn controller. So, yeah, do what you will. I just thought you guys would get a big kick out of this. I know I did. With that note, my phone is literally yelling at me that I'm running out of battery juice, so I will give you guys a fond farewell. Have a good night, comment where needed, and I will see you next episode. Take care.